Okay, hi there, guys. G'day, Paul. Yeah, had a good Easter, mate. Lawrence, how are you, mate? Still on holiday mode, are you? All right, can you hear me loud and clear now? Oh, you should be able to. I hope so. Henry, how are you, mate? Good, good. I was just getting my coffee before, Paul. Had to get myself organised and ready to go. Now, uh, welcome back. Hope you had a good Easter break for everyone that's did manage to get away. I know for myself, it was flat stick, to be honest. I think my little fella's just gone back. Well, both of them. One's gone back to school today, and the other one's hit kinder. She's back in this morning, so it's quiet again. I've had the 2 weeks off, so I was rushing around. For the first week, we headed up to where did I go? To Queensland. So I had a meeting up there with a few things on the go there. So up in Brisbane, and then straight back out again, and then went on away for a few days, and then come back and went over to Perth to do it. Sorry, Perth. What am I talking about? Adelaide. I did a talk over in Adelaide, presentation there, so it was all good. It was a good time. It kept me busy. And then, of course, you got the Easter long weekend, which was just one thing after another. So it's kind of good being back in the hot seat, back in the markets with everything done and dusted, and then refocusing. How'd everyone else go? I hope we all had a good time. People managed to get away. It looks like Lawrence still enjoying himself. Still eating chocolate, though. I actually just got myself a coffee and couldn't help myself. Nicking some of the kids' chocolate, they got inundated. So they're not going to eat it. They wouldn't even notice if something's gone. An egg or two. So anyone that's new, welcome. Welcome to TradeSetup and our live stream. It will be Monday, back to Mondays again next week. So sorry about the adjustments. Sorry about the last few weeks that have been a bit sparse with the alerts. Not much is happening. It's been sort of a quiet time anyway into the markets. There's a few sort of bouncing around, I guess. But yeah, sorry about the alerts a bit far in between. Few and far in between, I guess. Yeah, welcome to anyone new. Just remember you can join us Twitter, the top left-hand corner, Facebook, the top right, and subscribe to us at YouTube, the bottom right corner. We will be, I know I've probably said this before, we will be getting into our meetup group, and we're going to organise for the next few days some live streams, just some educational streams to a meetup group. So they'll be coming through on the YouTube. So if you're not part of Trades, you haven't subscribed to the alert service, then you'll get a pop-up there anyway. And you'll get notified. So let me just get rid of this now. Let me just change where I'm going. Close down. Transition. All right. Yeah. Oh, it's good there, Paul. The markets, it's pretty much what we've talked about the last few weeks now. The market just, I mean, there's no need to be bearish on it when it's going up. And just realizing that. So I think we spoke last Tuesday, we were really bullish. The last few weeks, it was holding high lows on the ASX. The Dow's kicking higher. Now they've got earnings coming through, which are a bit better than expected. A lot of them are doing quite well, and there's some big ones coming through this week in the US, so it could get a bit more volatility come in. I think a lot of traders are just waiting to see how that goes in the US, but even then again, um, the economy is still going well. They've had some retail figures on, was it Thursday night, which did well, better than expected. So I think there's been a bit of bearishness, maybe capping the market a bit in the US at least, into their economy and the global economy slowing down, yada yada. But the thing is that they're still doing quite well, and maybe even in Europe are better than expected. Even though it could be slowing down, it's better than expected. So if it's factored in to the downside, then and it's starting to pick up, we could see Europe hold or at least grind higher. US too. We'll just have to see how it goes. So on the ASX, still. Let's get over here. I'll start having a quick look at that again. ASX has just gone through today. that high at 62.87, so we're just trading above 6,300, and I'd expect to at least test, probably break at 63.73 highs from back in August last year. If we go to the weekly, it's a bit stretched up here, but the momentum's still high. It's still grinding higher. You can see the weekly, the high low. It's way down at 60.96, so 61 even. The high low just in here, which is holding that market up. So we could just keep going. I just don't like that V shape. I mean, we've recovered just as bad, probably recovered harder the end of December, January than what we fell over from September. So that's kind of unusual, but if you maybe discount that, we shouldn't have probably got a bit oversold going into a thin market into Christmas, start of the year when a lot of people are on holidays or easing off for the year. That's probably maybe overextended on the downside, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, either way, the market's heading higher. And if you're long, if you're on the sidelines, I can understand. We took some risk off coming in December and we closed out, didn't bother too much. We didn't see too much setup. But when it's popped, I think it was this level around here when we had a couple of positions before that. Once it got through there, it's confirmation, okay, it's not going to roll over anymore, and that lows are put in, and then it's time to get on board with the rally. So yeah, kicking up. It'll be interesting to see how we can go, whether we can just keep driving up through those highs, previous highs. Let's go a long-term view. I mean, if you look at it from a monthly perspective, it's up, higher, low, higher, low. Let me get rid of that. There's probably not enough data there. There we go. So on the monthly basis, I'm just going to draw it. Here we go. Go done. It's, even though it could have been a bit heavy, it's not. You've got this trend. Whoops. Make that a bit thinner. This is, your trend higher, which is beautiful. I mean, there's not much to say about that. You've got higher low here, higher low. Let's just take one step back. So that's, GFC, consolidated, double top here, pressed down, and then the buying really started. That was way back in 2010. High low here, another high low after the market eased off, trend up. Didn't get through the highs, which is typical of the ASX, grind high, get through the previous high, not by much, and then fall over, fall over, straight back down in pretty quickly. But really, it's holding that monthly trend up. So in respect to the monthly, the ASX is doing fine. It's just maybe we've got a bit ahead of ourselves up at these current levels, which obviously that level at 63, 80, 90, or just below 64, we're going to have to watch to see what sort of reaction. So there'll be a few things I'm looking for. If we press up into a resistance zone, one is if, say we're coming up here, and then we'll just change colors. So the first thing will be, okay, what do we do? Do we press through? If we press through and then pull back a bit and then consolidate the higher low, then especially if we press through that level, I'd expect that major higher low to kick on strong. And then the next port of call is really all-time highs in the ASX. Otherwise, if we, instead of there, we sort of fall short and tend to go down, it just depends on the speed of descent, I guess, or the speed of a pullback to what's actually happening. I mean, the MAs are still printing higher. We could just pull back a bit, bounce off, 6,100 or so off the anchors, and then be watching for that higher low to, again, take us up and through. We may just need to put in a bit of work just to take out a few of these buys of this bounce up since, 5,600 or below, 5,500, pretty much non-stop straight up. So it'll be interesting to see how all that goes, but I think the important level to be watching just to see how it reacts. But I want to go back to here, up pretty much at that 63.50, these highs through here, 63.80, and highs back up at 63.73. So yeah, that's all at the moment, still holding high lows. So the trend, even on the daily, is still up, still quite well, doing quite well. With regards to, we'll just get on here. What have we got here? Don't know what I've done there. Index, that's what I want. So, oh well, they just got belted. It's something I was just watching, MPH up at 37.5, got swept up, dunk, straight back down again. So I have to keep an eye on that, whether it's a lower high or thinking about buying it. But yeah, just wait for it to trigger. Anyway, that's that. We've got, let's look at quickly the US, what they're doing. Indices, here we go. Try that again. Indices. That's not it. Why is that different? Sorry. Why is it not display? It's doing something strange. Normally you've got indices here, which is more than just the Aussie. It's, am I looking at something wrong? So they've changed it. Oh, so here we go. Major markets, we'll get it that way. All right, so the Dow, same sort of thing. The Dow Jones is heading up into all-time highs. You've got highs at 26,950, say. There's previous levels back in October, start of October, before it fell over. It's just gradually easing up to that level, holding higher lows. The trend is still up, pressing up into that level. Again, we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. The Dow, obviously, it's a bit different. We've got a few key levels. It's really roughly where it is, I guess, at the moment. I would take that, as a level just to keep an eye on it. I mean, if it can extend up to these highs just below 27. So you've got that zone there, which is pretty much approaching now. It's just to keep an eye on. So the previous highs we sold off there, consolidated, took it out, but only by a small amount before we roll over hard. But what this rollover has done is cleaned out this previous higher low, and we're straight back up there now. So this could be, it's pretty major up at this level. If it does roll over from here and we start getting some really negative action, then all this price action is looking pretty weak, or we can consolidate sideways. But either way, there's a big move down to 2,200 potentially, a couple of thousand points on the Dow. But for now, their market's still pressing higher. We're just coming up into an area where you particularly expect some sort of reaction up at these levels, 26,750 to 27, say, roughly where we are. And you can see it's not getting ahead of itself too much at all. So it is ticking higher, pulling back to the MA is ticking higher. So instead of this price action, which is pretty much straight up, it's consolidated over the period, pretty much March, pull back the MAs, another pop up, another higher low built, and then it's that angle of ascent, the rally, is a lot more contained, a lot more controlled, this move up. But either way, if it breaks down through 2,600 and we start getting this little sharp pullback and we get a lower high, then I'd be a bit more concerned. We need a deeper pullback. And then from there, we just have to check out what happens. Could be to 24,000. But at the moment, it's not playing out that way. So all we can do is go on the bullish side and just see how this, how it affects our market. Undo that. I don't want that. I want that. S&P, the same sort of thing. Grinding high, coming up to the all-time highs. If we look at that weekly, it's above this level back here from start of 2018. So we're approaching this 29 to 29.50 zone. Previous highs from October. So I think I would expect the market to get a bit tentative. What the US could do a lot. If it breaks through, don't think it's just going to keep going up. It can break through, pull back, build your lower high, and all it's doing is just getting in a few buys. They're going to get stopped into the market and then turn around and squeeze them back out on the way down. The market can do it time and time again, especially in the US. They chop them in and then chop them back out again. So if it pops up, what you'd be looking for bullishness is that higher low to work from into the market. And it's a bit ahead of itself. You can see it's a bit stretched up here. We're coming up into that zone on the US. This is the broader market ahead of the MAs. So I would expect at some stage some sort of pullback, and then to see how that pullback reacts. Again, anyone that's been following us for a while, we could be ideally pull back like this rather than just up, boom, and then this sort of thing. And you get that off the lows, because I would expect that to be a deeper one. But a pullback is a bit more controlled, a couple of legs lower, from here, hold that 25.5 and then see what happens. And that would be more bullish to me than something just goes boom, straight back down to this zone at say 25.5, 25,250. Say, oh, we're on the Dow. Sorry, let me just take that back. So a pullback to here and a couple of legs around the 28 mark. If it comes screaming down and sort of trades through 28, then I'll be concerned that we've got a bigger move down. Something like this, that initial, the mouse is running, going a bit flat. That pop down, that pop back up, double top down, and we got further weakness. I wouldn't want to see something that grinds around like that after the move down. I'd rather see it more controlled on the way down and then start to put in some high lows. And again, time's important too, rather than just a couple of weeks down. I'd rather see that be controlled over, rather than 2 candles, say 6, 7, 8, 9 candles, something like that. A bit more time, which means a bit more controlled move down, and then I'll be a bit more bullish on it. So that's everything sort of got an eye on. So there's a lot more to come still. Still a lot of price action to play out in these markets before we get too overly eager on it or overly bearish. At the moment, I mean, like I said, everyone just stick on the fence. The fence is maybe not that comfortable, but the best place to be. So you look at each side of the market rather than being a straight out bull or a bear. FTSE, not much change there, still grinding higher, and the DAX, same sort of scenario. This looks a bit more weaker to me, getting a bit ahead of themselves on the weekly, but go to the monthly. This could be a higher low, higher low, higher low, or that trend up there. Just have to keep an eye on it. But ideally, even if this is bullish, you could pull back, build a major high low, and then go again, and then start to trend up to those highs above 13,000, 13.5, the all-time highs. But either way, if all these markets are bullish, it's going to drag us up. If not, we'll have to see how we go, how we take it. Any questions there, guys, before we start plugging away at some energy? So it'll be worth looking at it at the moment. We've got a few good stocks kicking off. Where am I watch list? I just want to grab that. Just 1 second. All right. Just checking what watch list this is. Oh, let's just use this one. That'll do. What we can do is, so I just want to go over crude oil. Been having a good run, and it is a manipulated market. Obviously, news that's driven it higher above 65. Obviously, OPEC want to cut output to ease back supply. Demand's there, and obviously kicking on higher, kick crude prices higher out of the rut that was in a while ago. On top of that, you've got Iranian oil supplies getting constrained by the US and embargoes, not embargoes, what do you call them? I always forget, tariffs and things that the US is looking to apply to anyone that's actually been jumping into or been buying off Iran on the back of their nuclear program. They want to try to contain that or stop them with on the nuclear side, if I'm making sense. But either way, it's having a positive effect on oil. Oil's kicking higher, and there's been some, just started ticking through a few charts today on the energy. They're looking good. Not overly bullish, not the perfect setup, but there is potential there to get a bit of a run on, especially if crude kicks on. So we'll start off by just have a bit of a look at crude. I'm just going to work through, I've just cleared the chart. This is your weekly chart, and just putting some clear cut levels on there just to mark it up and then work our way down and see if anything comes in hand. I don't know if anyone's been through the process or just started marking up crude to see sort of where some key levels would be. Oops, well, that's one, if I can draw it. You got obviously a key low down there on your weekly. So you can see this is obviously that bullish market when it rallied up to 146 or so. It absolutely dropped out of the sky down to about 60 something bucks, 50, 30 bucks. So I was trading calls up there, a couple of puts down there, and just gave up and then just get back into the calls there. This was years ago. It was going quite well. So the volatility was high there. Markets tipped over in 2014, obviously, and we retested these lows just below 30, took out these lows, and then we're working our way back off. So you can see back at this stage, that was your key level that's pressed the market down. You had this big push down, pop up, gathered itself again, and pressed down into that support, took out the lower level, and then it's been grinding higher since until we got, what was this, probably the start of end of 2018, sold off again into Christmas basically this year, back down to about 42, 43 bucks a barrel. It's getting a bit extended. You can see on the weekly, it's extended up to here, so that it could mean a few things for me. Maybe it's going to hit itself. It doesn't mean that the market can't stay extended. You can see here it was back in, let's make that a bit bigger. Back here it was overextended and it was trading around 57, 58 bucks a barrel, consolidated for a few weeks, continued to go higher to 66. So I could easily do that, consolidate, and then pop up to these highs. So this is something we've just got to keep an eye on. There hasn't been a pullback at all from basically these lows. So what I'm inclined to believe, if we just mark up, so they're the sort of the key levels I'm looking at. And you can probably extend this right back. It's traded through that zone for quite a bit back in 2016, started 2017, straight back down to test at the end of last year, basically the day before Chrissy, wasn't it? Well, the week before Christmas, or Christmas week. Traded down, retested, and bounced straight back off. So that's our key level on the weekly. If we click over to the daily chart, there's really this leg up here, and it's been extended for quite a while. I mean, like I said, no reason to go in and sell, but something we just have to keep an eye on. This could easily pop up, consolidate, pop up, consolidate, and just work its way all the way up to, what was that, the 74 bucks a barrel. And you can see that trend up. So nothing's changed. So if we just stick with that bias, market can stay overextended for as long as it wants. Don't care. Nothing's changed at the moment. We've got the fundamentals, which are saying limited supply. The US is really starting to pressure Iran, and anyone buying off Iran, Iranian oil, which is kind of a big producer, OPEC cutting, Russia cutting, or happy with limited supply just to force prices up. So to me, the fundamentals are bullish. The price is obviously definitely bullish, and retracing all this leg. It's just where to though? Where to from here? But either way, that trend is up, and that's what we're going to keep an eye on until that changes, which the key level for me is around the 62, 63 bucks. If we come screaming down and take out that level, then we've got to be wary. And I'll do it this way. I like this chart better to draw. So this is for, if we're expecting some sort of bearish action, we need to take out that zone, and then we'll see what happens. Whoops. No, I like it. I'm not drawing it too well. Then see what happens from here if we drive back up and then look for that secondary leg down. So that's sort of the key for whether we turn bearish or bullish or stay bullish, essentially. If we drive through that anchor and then we grind our way back up again, but build a lower high when the market comes, from overextended on the upside to downside, back up again, or something like that, or even to the 50% mark, we find that the buyers just can't push it up to the previous highs, and we look like we're going to build a lower high, and then that market could roll over, and then it's a different ball game because we've got all this zone here, which is a major lower high in respect to these previous highs, right up at 74 bucks a barrel, 72, 74, something like that, 76, this zone up here. But if not, it's a simple case of that holding. We could sort of come back, grind, hold higher levels, and then grind back up, another press up, another expansion higher, and then back to the MAs, expansion higher, and we just work our way right up to 75 or $6 a barrel. So at the moment, that's what's looking likely, that trend to hold up, and it's down to just looking at some energy stocks to see what they're doing and what they're saying, whether we are the only ones thinking this is going to happen in oil, and that's what we want to see with oil, and to see if that's going to help out, or the shares stay in a different story altogether. Now, let me just say, a good one. I wanted energy, didn't I? There we go. So the one that I just sent an alert recently was it this one? Get onto the weekly. Let me get rid of this. All right, so that's my weekly chart, isn't it? All right. So this is I don't mind. This is oil search. The problem, I'll get onto here. The problem with this is a daily chart, weekly. Actually, no, actually, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, you've got longer term, you've got this big press higher, and then it's a pullback, consolidation. It's pressed back up above $9, fell over to the end of the year. That followed, with the global markets too. Everyone was getting a bit nervous there. The news everything was coming out was nervous. So maybe you could suggest that's a bit overextended to the downside. Now, if oil keeps pressing higher, this setup doesn't look too bad. It's gone below the MAs, popped back up. Now it's spent the good part of the last few months. You can see here since beginning of March, pressed down to the MAs, but consolidating sideways, but holding those MAs. And that daily trend is up. The weekly trend has just turned to the upside with the MAs. So we're going to be looking to see if this can press higher. And then I'll basically be looking, I think the key level for me is probably pressing up through 823 or even up to test highs 832 and see if we can pull back and sit on top of the MAs. If anyone, just the way we look at it, is really seeing if you get something like this. It's well, I probably haven't seen it. Just see if we can see anything here. Something like this. It's pressed up, pull back on the MAs, and see if we can get the entry set up for another leg higher, especially if the weekly starts playing out nicely and it starts pressing up on the weekly chart. So it's all got down to the daily. I don't mind this. I think we've got this sort of contraction. We've got high lows holding. Was rejection. You can see the last few weeks in here. Got smacked back down, but it was getting soaked up on the lows. Soaked up at a higher level before today. Pretty much just pressed higher. And this is ideally what I like about that. We've just broken out of, you can see just today. So for me, it's a good sign that heads up. The bull's going to start to come into play. They're starting to show their hand and really just looking for that pullback to build that high low. And I think oil search, that if you can sort of measure that leg up there, I'm assuming that's going to take us somewhere up towards these highs. You'd be sort of gunning for those 920 and 30 highs from about 820. And I don't know what that would give us, but if we can, where is it? Here we go. Say 930 minus 8.3 equals divided by 8.3. A handy 12% gain if that's the case. So that plays out. So it's more than enough, risk to reward. You can see eyeballing that, it's about 2 or 3 to 1 at least, even if your entry's up here somewhere. So if we get a pop up, pull back, bit of contraction there, that's what I'd be looking for to really refine the entry off a higher low and see if they can press up to that highs around 920 or thereabouts. But that to me is supporting higher oil prices, the theory of higher oil prices. So that's starting to show some good signs. What else we got? Where else am I? Not so much. This is Sundance. Not so much Sundance. I'm not a big fan of that one. It's not looking too great. Although this recent price action, yeah, it could suggest that we're going to pop up through these highs at 48, or say trade up towards the 50 mark, and then maybe press higher. But we'll have to see. Stochastic's in a good level. You can see this move. Stochastic's oversold here. The difference is we're at a higher level, around 40. So the sellers are coming, moving in, pressing it down to 40, but it's getting soaked up quite well. Whereas opposed to this, sellers come in, it just lack of buying pressure, and the sellers just pressed it down, got it down to about 32, I'd say, these lows. So that's not too bad. And you're starting to sit on top of the MAs on the daily, but it's just that weekly doesn't look quite as convincing as what we've seen on the oil search. Look at a few others. Forget Paladin, Cenex, was it Cenex Energy? Weekly's a bit it's sitting below the MAs. Not a big fan of that at the moment, so that's just consolidating sideways. Could easily, for me, that could just as easily roll over as it could rally. I don't think that's it's a key sort of a one to keep an eye on. We've got Origin. Origin's starting to look good as well, especially after the action today, starting to pick up. And that weekly, yeah, I'd rather see it pop up to 8, pull back to the MAs, so the weekly MAs cross. Otherwise, it could just be suckering in a few longs, trading up to those highs at say 775 thereabout, and then squeezing them back out and move down. By I mean, stopping in a few people here, just trading to that 775 zone and squeezing them back out of the market on if it does head south. But that's one I don't see that as good as the others. Santos, yeah, I don't like that recovery, but hey, it's going up. The trend really never faltered on the weekly. MA is heading higher, big pullback there. Pretty much popped up, got towards the highs. That press sat on top of the MAs again, which is a good. Volume not too bad, was quite steady. Hasn't really picked up at all up here. We are getting a bit stretched here, so it's not one that, and we're right near these previous highs in October. So I'd expect potentially some sort of reaction lower off that. But yeah, that's ticking higher. We've got Santos, we've got Origin, we've done that. Woodside, not too bad there. You're holding a higher low in here. You can see it's only minor off, say, 35, 20, 30 level. Looking not too bad, but the weekly, what's the weekly saying? It's holding higher levels. This is a high low, and this is probably the first time it's looked, and you can see that's a bit more convincing than, say, this move. Straight down, bounce straight back up. So that would have probably been a bit harder to trade after that double bottom. It did press high, but it's got smacked back down again. But this, you can see it's sort of two moves. A bit of a move down, a couple of green candles, a couple of red candles here, consolidated, sit on top of the MAs and started to spread higher, expand higher again. That price action doesn't look too bad. Bit of a cup forming there, handle up here, which would suggest to move up towards 39. We'll see how it goes. Short, we'll go with that. Yep. I don't actually like it, to be honest, on Worley at the moment. Well, Worley, that's starting to prove me wrong. Was looking good short here. It was looking good up until pretty much we put in this higher low in here. Popped up, pull back, another higher low. It's still been capped around that 15 bucks on Worley, which could easily roll over, but this is not looking so bearish at the moment. It's looking more consolidating sideways, and if it's not going to go rally, fall over, that short, we might have to cut it. But I'm happy we've got quite a tight stop. We're not risking a lot on that one on Worley, but if it does pop up through, we get stopped out, and it could be something to keep on the flip side. I mean, you could look at that. This move down, quite a, some heavy selling, pressed it down to into Christmas. With the rest of the market, bounced up pretty strong, and now we've gone sideways. So we're consolidating this above 14, which is not the best sign at the moment, and especially after these high lows recently, which to me is suggesting we're going to start to rally up again and take out that highs at 1550, say 1549. So yeah, that one, Darren, just keep an eye on that one. But I would, if you short it, just tighten. Happy to keep tight stop, even happy to tighten your stop up on that one. BPT, that's another one that was like, what was it? Santos we just looked at. Yeah, BPT is pretty much the same. Volume easing off. You can see as we're getting up towards those highs, volume's coming, backing off a bit. So potentially that is a bit stretched. You would expect a reaction lower. It's not the one I'd be ideally looking at the moment. CVN. CVN is one we've been in and out a few times. Well, I think I've been in and out a few times, and we've been in as alert, made a small profit on it. Didn't look so great as it was struggling back up here. But you can see this pullback set on top of the MAs, this little flush lower back on April, on the daily, on the 5th of April. And then it's pretty much gone sideways, consolidated just above around that 43 mark. So for me, that potentially starting to look a bit more bullish. You can see it hasn't really changed trend. The key level from this press up was around the 40 mark. We touched on 40, and that was probably just cleaned out a few traders, potentially us as well. And now it's going sideways. So I'm looking at that as a potential move back up again. The problem, I don't like it. It's just such a slow grind, and we are getting stretched up here. So if it's just grinding higher and we're struggling, don't forget we could potentially have an inside double top there. So this is what's, even though it's looking good, actually, let me just, I want to draw this on a bigger chart. Oh, CVN. So what's got me a little bit concerned is these previous highs. It might be completely fine. It's around 47. We didn't finish above it. Popped above it, rejected. Popped above it, rejected. Back down again. So maybe this is just the market taking a bit more of a breather, cleaning out a few of these late buyers that couldn't help it press through. Bit of a deeper correction and it's starting to lift again. And this could be the one that presses straight up through the previous highs, breaks that, and then pretty much all aboard to see if we can get up towards 70. I'll keep an eye on that. The problem is we are stretched. You can see stochastics, the buyers are getting a bit stretched up here, so they're going to have to make their move soon. And we're not really supported by volume. You can see the volume here is, if you think you can see that, just drill right in. The volume hasn't really kicked on with this little pop today, and it's not as high as it was previously with this rally back up. So yeah, I really like that structure. But at the moment, it's like two levels. You've got this double top working for the bears. The bulls have got this, line in the sand around 30 to 32, but they're holding the cards at the moment, I think, because we are still holding those high lows, and it is starting to squeeze. It's just, I think they're going to have to make their move soon. Otherwise, this could easily roll over, and all the buyers have been building up through here, just giving up and bailing, selling. Does that make sense to you guys? So that structure I do like. I'd just like to see it expand. If it can't expand through, and you want a couple of good green candles in a row, boom, straight up and through to 50 or so, then I'll be getting a bit wary of this one. That was probably all I was really looking at. Caltex, it's not so flash. That's in a downtrend. This could easily just roll over. Nothing really to watch there. Sol, don't know why that's in there. Anyway, so that's probably the main ones I just wanted to have a look at. Any questions there, guys, before we get into some other charts, or you can throw in some other charts if you like. All right. Well, look at Shirley's XOP. Is that on US? Let's have a look. XOP, what have we got still going? We'll go through what we got in a second. XOP, guessing in the US. Oil and gas. All right, let's have a look at that. ETF, is it? That looks nice. For me, go away. That looks quite good. That's got some wiggle room there, hasn't it? You can see the market does it time and time again. It's obviously a little bit like oil. It's come back down, pressed, basically fell over there, popped up off that support zone, consolidated around the previous sort of zone. What's that? 29, 30 bucks, so 29.50. Popped up, consolidated there, and it started to head higher. So the way I'd be looking at that is potentially that rally. Oh, go away. To take the market at least somewhere up towards 35, 36 even, and it's starting to kick on. So I think what Shirley was saying is 33, about here, basically where it is. Buying with your stop. 375, I'm guessing it's 30 with a stop loss of $1.32. About here, just below the day's high, daily candles low, sorry, and then see if it can pop up 33, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so it probably matches off to about that extension around 35, 36 zone. Very see, it looks good. I think I really like the way the market falls over here, capitulates, straight down, and then bounces quite hard. This is ideally what I'd like to have seen on the ASX. This kind of thing, chop around here, and all that's doing is just soaking up the remaining sellers that potentially well, that could potentially pressure the market. So if they were going to take control, you should have got a lower high and press back down to this zone at around 24. But instead, it was getting held up. So you got this double bottom in here, which is really bullish. Then you got higher levels, here, here. These higher levels just taking the market back up again. So that, for me, is nice and bullish. So that could really kick on potentially up to 38, which is really the next sort of key level. You got zones right up here. Yeah, so that could easily, especially if crude oil gets a kick on, that could really start rallying. But we'll see. That looks nice. Thanks, Shirley, for that. We've got a few to look at. All right, let's go PEN. That looks good just here. The fact that it's come from overbought to oversold, but it doesn't mean it can't pop up, build a lower high, and then have a deeper correction. Big volume, more on that leg down than anything else. A bit of volume, so it's really expanded down on higher volume, which is not a great sign. You'd rather see the market pressing higher and the volume increasing than the reverse. So flicking it back to the weekly charts, look, it could be, I want to see those MAs crossed. It has popped up, and it's probably the first time in a while that it's really kicked up above the MAs. It did back in 2017, popped just above it, but just really couldn't hold on before it fell over, and that was in a downtrend. The market's still trending down. Obviously, we're right down on its lows around 15, 30 cents at the moment, but lows it traded to about 15 cents at the start of the year. So ideally, I would like to see an inside level form. So if we can just take a snapshot of this trend up, if we got our zones here, I would like to see, I don't mind if it can, so that's your support. We've pressed up off support, that's that leg up here. We've pulled back, we're just up here. I don't mind if it can actually, let me just dismiss that. I don't mind if it pulls back and then you can start seeing some higher levels hold. That would be ideal. And then buy it once it's consolidated, it's washed out a few more of these traders up here. Because that's not a bad washout. It's probably about 50% retracement just of this leg up. Okay, we're just sort of analyzing that leg in context of this move and seeing if we can get a better price. I mean, I wouldn't expect this just to go from here and blast up through those highs and then take out these highs at 34, 35. I think what it has to do is put a bit more effort in, a bit more time to clean out a few more traders that have built up through there. And then I want to see an inside level hold, inside higher level. If it just holds that low and chops around, consolidates rather than this action, rather than the secondary leg lower, but just does that kind of action, consolidates with some high levels, then yeah, that would be giving me a lot more confidence because you just want to see that buying strength come in. This is not really buying strength just because it's lifted here. It's just popped down. Sellers run out of steam. Buyers, those people that are, how would you say, are looking for the bargain may have just bought it up here. It hasn't really proven itself until it comes back down to potentially test 26.5 or hold up above 26.5 and chop around sideways, building this inside level. But until it does that, I'm not too confident on it just because of that weekly. But we'll see. So ideally, if that plays out, you would expect maybe the MAs on the weekly cross up. It's holding the MAs on the weekly. It's sitting on top of them. And then if you can get, obviously, this price action play out, I would expect it to take out these highs at around 33, 34, and that would play nicely to that weekly chart. Take out these highs, 33, and then next level you're looking up towards, say, 45, 50. So that would be a good little, that would kick on quite nicely. All right, what was next? PEN, BPT, we've quickly gone over that. That's looking a bit extended to me on both the weekly and the daily, just because we're up these highs back in September. Just bear in mind that we're up there. It could be just a flush of these previous highs. When was that? Back in March. Flushed it out. We'll have to see how basically this day finishes. If we finishes back above 220 or 225 on the highs, a bit more confident, would be a bit more confident in this price action. Otherwise, this could just be a suckers rally or a setup for a short squeeze, basically a long squeeze, sorry, and roll over. That MAs are still looking quite good, still looking strong. It's just up in that zone where I'm expecting some reaction lower or some profit taken partial, whatever it may be. If I'm wrong, don't really care. There's always more to trade anyway. That's BPT. CWY. That's, we've had a good correction here towards the end of the year. Last year, reacted quite strong straight up. I'll have a look at that. Market's pressed higher this year. It's right up on its highs there. So just remember, on the weekly, it's starting to get to be extended. Do we need to clean out a few of these late buys before we build a higher low off the MAs and go again on the weekly? Or is this just going to keep going higher? On the daily, the good thing is you can see by this, the stochastics rolling over from overbought, starting to come off, and we hold these higher levels. That's a good sign of strength. So it could be the case that it's just going to continue this trend up on the daily and hold higher levels and then blast up through highs at 235. Say these previous highs at 235. So ideally, I mean, if we sit here and you're looking for an entry, I would probably take an inside level through 232, entry at, say, buy on stop at 233, and you've got minimal risk at just below 225, and seeing if that's going to be an inside or you're front running that break up through 235, which could just, you could have that little spike higher to 250 easily. But we'll see how it goes. It's just this weekly, the way it's extended up here, maybe we're going to get a bit of a pullback to the MAs. We'll just have to see. Just have to see. But it's probably, you want a nice high probability setup to get into that one on the daily chart. But just remembering what the weekly's doing so you don't take too much risk on it. And look at this, volume popped up and we had a couple of down days just in here. So yeah, something to watch. We'll have to keep an eye on that. And what was the MPL? I was looking at this just recently. The beauty of MPL, we've had, this is a bit of a chop, so it's massive consolidation. So if you just look at it this way, this for me is the weekly. Obviously, you got these levels up around 330, a little level around 240, which the market's tried to go up here, reacted lower, had another crack, couldn't get there. And that's basically your action. Had to come screaming down. That's probably overextended there, and that's really flushed out the previous lows just here. Thanks to the overall market being, I mean, if the overall market wasn't bearish, completely caving in, it probably wouldn't have got that low, or it may have fallen short somewhere up here. Who's to know? But the fact that the market was caving in and it's pretty much turned on a dime straight back up again, and the key levels, you can just eyeball that from there, is right up around 285. This leg up has broken that. We've got a reaction lower. So that's your reaction lower. And from the weekly, I'm just interested to see if that's going to be a higher low. Everything's primed. It does look pretty good. My stochastics, which I like to look at, has had a good from overbought to oversold. So that selling pressure's coming in, but it's getting soaked up. Just off that weekly, we can't quite tell. Well, you probably just about could. But I like the fact that it's taken a couple of goes. You know, that the way it's acting on the move lower off these highs at 295 or so is looking quite good. So if this is just with this weekly, if this is your leg up and we're going to hold this high level, project it out, and you're probably looking back up towards 330. By what I mean by that is this leg is probably equal and opposite to a move up to 330 if you project that up. So if that's the case, we want to go into a daily just to see what's happening. And the daily to me is probably very, very close for what I would like to see. All right, so this is pretty much it. You got this is a move down. It's popped up. I would ideally just from there. You can see these legs down, cleaning out a few traders, leg down, boom, up we go. Broken that anchor level is pretty much as of today. I'm not saying that this is probably a good example just to be aware. You can easily break out of this move down, this contraction lower. We busted up. I like seeing it get through this sloping resistance zone, but it could easily pop up and it could go sideways from there. You don't know if it's going to rally or go sideways, consolidate sideways. So that's why I'm always looking for this move, that pop. We've got that. Actually, let me just draw that a bit better. But that move up through the highs, that level. So ideally, I'm just looking for my high low. If I get my high low, that little pullback, and even if it's something like that, I'll be in that. I think that would be good because that would mean it goes back to that weekly chart, and we're looking back up to these highs at around 330. Does that make sense? We've got one leg up, contraction, and we're looking for that secondary leg up on the weekly. Or, I mean, even if that's well within that weekly range, between 330, 340, and right down to sort of 240 or so, there's more than enough fat in that trade to play out nicely. See you, Paul, if you haven't gone. Cheers, mate. See you next week. Does that make sense on MPL? Hope so. Let's get on to the next one, LPD. LPD, I mean, the weekly showing it's going up. It's just extended for me, and we're probably coming up. It's not really a zone. So I'll be probably focusing on, I mean, if you've got it, hold it. Just make sure you know where your risk is. If you haven't, holding off. That's pretty much the way I look at it. So I'd be ideally holding off on this one if I haven't entered. But you can see there's one leg up there. It's probably about equal and opposite. This leg up to about 4.5 cents. So maybe we're getting a bit extended up here. It's coming into a minor zone around 4.5 to 5. It's only minor these previous lower high, this in here. But are we going to expect reaction lower, or is it just going to blast through? We don't know that yet. And the fact that it's probably getting a bit extended on this, just this little, if I draw that in a different color, this leg up here, the yellow leg, maybe it's getting a bit extended. Okay, if you're looking to enter, I would just hold off. But if you're long, I'd be looking to my daily to tighten my risk up. I would be happy to put it down here. If you've got him somewhere here, great. Risk it. You don't know where it's going to go to. It could blast up straight up and through, and then let it run and just tighten your risk as you go. Otherwise, just see how we go. LPD, SXL, go over that, didn't we? Southern Cross, no, we didn't. That's another one that's the fact that we got through $1. I would see that as a double bottom. And if you're working a higher low off the double, you can see that starting to play out now around that $1.15 to $1.10 mark. You can see that that's quite nice action. So really, I'd like to see it pop up through highs at 123. If I'm looking to enter, I'm always talking about looking to enter. And pop up through there, pull back to the MAs, give me a higher low, and start to get a bit of a run on. Even if you take it from $1 to $1.22, so $1.12, just add a buck to that. From $1.20 to $1.10, say $1.32. So it's probably up towards the highs, $1.40. So that first leg up, consolidation, secondary leg up, could easily take us back up to the highs of $1.40. And, risk reward, this market can still contract sideways, still do nothing, and you can get a nice probable trade out of that. I wouldn't be looking for this just to kick on without a better weekly chart, whereas the weekly chart just at the moment it's not looking too flash. Yeah, definitely this price action here is not looking too bad. The MA is up, sitting on top of the MAs here. You can see this little pullback. It did open down, rally, and finish on its lows, but the next day was a green candle, expanded up during the day, opened up, finished down. I mean, that's just chop really, intraday chop, but that overall price action is starting to look okay. We'll just see how it goes up towards the highs of $1.23, which is just there now roughly. Whether we can pop up through today, finish above it, or whether we back off and see what happens in the next few days. SXL, what are we at? SKO, well, light on the volume. Bugger all offers there too, so it's not too bad. Stretched up here near the previous high, I would expect that just to back off, in all honesty. Probably taking a lot of energy, this pullback here. I would rather see that more constructive if I think there's a lot of people accumulating or if it's building. But at the moment, that rally straight back up, where it's come down and straight back up, that was more constructive, that move down, and it's popped straight back up, getting a bit extended up here, good volume up here. It could be volume for distribution, it's been long for a while. We just have to wait and see. Or maybe someone's accumulating here. I think that's a bit unlikely, but we'll see. Either way, probably that chart's not too bad. I just think it's a definite reaction zone up towards 350, these previous highs, 350, 340, and it's just sitting there now, getting a bit choppy. That day where it opened up and finished on its lows of the day on the 17th, then the 18th, the next day it rejected those highs. That could be just due to Easter. Not such a positive day today. It's just hovering, very low volume today at the moment. So something just to keep an eye on. We could pull back if we start to build a higher low, then probably jump on board. I'd be looking to jump on board anyway if I haven't got into, well, I'm not in this one anyway. That makes sense. Bin. Yeah, look, that's picking up. I don't like that chart. I don't like the fact that it's gapped down here. You know, the weekly, bit of a mess too, moved down. Maybe that's your second unit's one move down. Tried to rally up here. That's essentially your second move down. Maybe it's going to hold, but I think it's got a lot of work to do before I'd even look at this one. A lot of work for me anyway. If you're just looking at this price action, that could just be looking to gap fill up towards 230. If that's the case, great. But I don't put, after the fact that it's gapped down now, I don't know why. I won't bother looking at why. But yeah, I'd be a bit more tentative. I think there's better things to look at. Bin. What else we got? Oh, AJL. AJ Lucas. Look, the fact that it's gone up above the MAs on a daily, for me, way too early. And the weekly, yeah, it's down on its lows. I would expect this move down has taken out, especially it's come down, consolidated all the way through. It's for years of consolidation, bang. That was with the overall sell-off. And when the market was rebounding the start of this year, it just kept going down. Not a good sign. It's a sign of, some serious weakness there. So for me, I'm not happy to jump in here. I want to see a lot more price action. Sit on top of the MA, flushing out, probably down to test down towards the lows, flushing a few more buyers out, putting them back on the sidelines before I get confidence for a new rally, to jump into that new rally anyway. But yeah, you've got to be brave. NXS. God, there's no price action to watch on this one. But yeah, good day today. That, for me, seat of your pants trade, there's nothing to go from if you're looking at pure price action. Wouldn't know where to attack that one. You'd have to be intraday, and the 30-minute is bugger all to look at on the 30-minute as well. 5-minute, it's been straight up. So yeah, you could take a punt, buy it, but with a stop, say even below the low at $1.40 if you bought it here. But just remember, it's up 25%. I struggle to buy things like that. I want to see what happens on the first pullback. If it pulls back, and then we start getting others supporting it, I want to see everyone else do the heavy lifting, do the work for me before I start to jump in. Because if we're going to be wrong, I'd rather them be wrong than me. I'd rather them be wrong, throw their money out the door than me. And that's what I'll be waiting for just on this one. But I have to see, what do they do next, Science Limited. If it's next SPT, that would be awesome. What's SPT doing? Not so well. APT. APT struggling. Zip. That's not it, is it? Z1P. Yeah, it's backed off as well. So maybe there's a bit of heat coming out of that sector at the moment, or those stocks. 6T, is that 6T? 6T. Is that currency? Sorry, Ola, might have missed it. Looks like we got through everything, I hope. Does it all make sense to you guys, what I'm just banging on about? Or a bit more rubbish? Oh, that's annoying. The CDA, we've got in that one, it's taken out the high, bang, straight back down again. So someone does not want that higher. I think it's been played a little bit. Yeah, I'll have a look at that one. Pretty much all we got at the moment. Oh, good. VTG. VTG is one we got, probably a partial at once, up towards 180, I think, 179. So I think this is looking good. See if they can kick on. DAX. Let's look at the DAX futures. I haven't looked at the DAX for a while. Do you want to look at the DAX futures or the index? God, it's heading high. That's a bit stretched, isn't it? Well, that's the futures anyway. It's this reaction that I don't like. So ideally, from your daily, I'll be looking for a lower high, I guess. Um, depends how you trade. If you're trading intraday, I'd just be looking for some sort of price action to back off. Maybe it does two and then starts to hold a major higher level and then look for buys on that zone. Otherwise, these could just be sells. Buy down here, see what happens, see if we can buy, see if we can kick on. If you're looking intraday, thanks, Sharon. We're looking intraday. If I can go back to, say, 30-minute. Yeah, even a 30 minutes well and truly stretched. So you'd be biased up, but I'd be looking for a pullback. Sitting on top of the MAs like it's done many a time before. We have this leg. You can see that leg starting to get extended. It's like oil. We don't know how far it's going. So if you're trading it intraday, I'd ideally looking for that to pull back, consolidate like it has, here, maybe in here, did it quite a few days, well, for a while, back through there, and then see if you can lift. So I'd ideally look for a pullback into the zone, sit on top of the MA, see if it pulls back, and then look for a buy entry. But then it's probably more than likely to do it. Start of the session, back off, go sideways into the close, and then rally, gap up on the open, which is always frustrating. But that's how I'd ideally be attacking the DAX. That trend is up on the 30-minute chart. It's extended up here. Last time it was extended, it backed off. Look for that to come down. The way I look at my stochastics, come back down, sort of that selling pressure coming in, but holding a higher level on the 30-minute, say, and then look for your entries on a lower time frame if you're trading intraday. On the daily, I think you are in a well and truly stretched market. It doesn't mean it can't keep going higher. Your next sort of reaction zone, which we'll be keeping an eye on, is not up until it's 12,419, or say 12,420, so they're a couple of 100 points away. But we'll see. All right, guys, I might have to call it a day there, actually. Now, thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, if there's something I missed or you got a few more concerns on or something you want to touch on a bit more, feel free to send us an email to support@tradesetup.com.au, and I'll get back to you. Otherwise, the stream will be back on Monday. We'll be back in on Monday at 12:30 again, 12:30 to 1:30 around there, about an hour. But we'll get back to our Monday. It's just the public holidays. I couldn't do it last Monday, I think. Public holidays, which have kept us out of the market for a while, or kept us from doing the stream on the Monday. Anyway, fantastic. Thanks, guys. We'll speak to you again Monday. Have a great weekend. We'll see what happens the rest of the week. Cheers, guys. Bye.